folks. How's it going? Dan here, aka the Red Comet. And, oh, hang on. Oh, and we got Jiraiya. Here we go. Here we go. That's better, kitty. Yeah, not much to say. It's, kind of a lazy night, so we are just going to keep on with that Werewolf visual novel that we started. Yes, I see that. Thank you. Oh, and I'm getting kisses. Thank you. Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. So, give me just a moment and I will get it started. I hope everyone is doing well. I don't really have anything new to complain about. Work sucks, but work's gonna suck. That's just how it is, unfortunately, for 99% of us. Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, where is it, kitty? Oh, we found it. We found it. Here you go. There you go. Now, give me a second. I will change. Thank you very much. I will change to that. Boom. Hang on, kitty. I gotta check something, don't I? Give me just a moment. Stuff I should have done before. Oh, hey. What's up there? Oh, it's Haley. What's up? Just some iced coffee. Just plain black coffee over ice, mind you. How are you? How are things with you? Cool. Good, good, good. Delicious. For now. No, you'll be alright. And, yeah, I'm always here for you if you need to talk or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if you caught the last stream I did with this, but this is more of a visual novel than a game, so really I'm just going to kind of narrate it like I did last time. And I get to make a couple choices here and there throughout it to kind of alter the story, but for the most part, yeah, I'm just going to be reading. Give me just a moment here. Lubricate the old vocal cords. Wonderful. What the hell? Why is... Hang on. I'm looking at my screen. It all looks out of whack. And now it's fine. So it's got to be something with the game. Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, you know what? This honestly may help. Because like I said, I'm basically just going to read a story. And I'm going to start right now. I don't know how far into it I am. I felt a little tired. The shadows of the enormous trees cooled the sweat on my skin. The taste of ash lingered in my mouth. Buzzing in my ears. It started with the hair on the backs of my hands raising. The air around me seemed brighter, lighter. The leaves and the tree trunks turned yellow and my skin started to prickle. I realized that I couldn't hear anything except for a low buzzing that was filling my ears. I was hot. My bones were vibrating, full of an energy I couldn't contain. I had to do something. Snap out of it. Not knowing what to do with all that energy, I kicked the nearest tree trunk. "Look out!" Anya screamed. There was a cloud of dust and rot, and the buzzing grew louder. I felt a sting, and then another, and another. I started to run. How do you fight a hive? You don't. You just hope you can outrun it. So I ran, and I hoped. Then there was an opening, and light, real light. Not the yellow buzzing. And I felt everything become still. There was a clearing. It was a plateau between huge boulders. There were double-trunked trees between the rocks and an angular wooden construction that stuck out of the ground like a sore thumb. There was a bike leaning on it. But more importantly, there was a man, and he was moving in the most beautiful, harmonious way I'd ever seen. He was hypnotizing. I couldn't stop looking at the way he moved, the way his muscles danced under his tan skin. This man knew his body. He knew how to use it. It was his tool, his weapon. The wasps that were flying after me stopped in midair, forming a ball. The man slowly moved his hands forward, like he was gently pushing them away. The hive turned around and left the clearing. The words came out of my mouth, seemingly without my knowing. What did you do? He smiled. It's a little bit complicated. He stretched his hand toward me. "I'm Cornell," he said with a hard German accent, which I cannot do accents. "Shouldn't you be on the logging site?" Daniel asked him after I had introduced myself. "I needed to center myself," he answered. "The others are still there, don't worry." "Wait, logging? Here?" I couldn't believe my ears. He smiled bitterly. "Yes, logging. Here. That's why I needed to calm down." "This place is special," Daniel said. "Some people call it a place of power, as I told you. And they have good reason to," Cornell added. "Look around you." So I looked. There was a clearing filled with light. I could see Cornell's traces. Beautiful pattern on the ground. There's one thing that caught my attention more than anything else. Hang on. Cheshire. I know, I like it. I'm just waiting for everything to get all fucked up, because this is Werewolf the Apocalypse. Okay. Why the fuck is this here? I asked, pointing at the observation tower. I thought this was supposed to be a forest untouched by humans. People believe this was a place of worship thousands of years ago, hence the fruit trees, the stone circle, and now the tower. And indeed, there's a lot of energy in this place. You felt it, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah, I felt it, I said without enthusiasm. The Pushka is wounded and in pain, and it calls out in rage to anyone who can hear it. Here, this call is louder. You see, the logging, his eyes darken, is slaughter. Anya gasped quietly. Every priceless thing can be destroyed by greed. Logging is illegal, of course, but illegal is sometimes just a way of saying a bit more expensive, but still profitable, especially for huge corporations. The forest is hurt. The wound is getting bigger, as is its desperation. I clench my fists. Someone should sabotage the whole thing. You can't log without tools, and buying new tools will get unprofitable at some point. Cornell regarded me for a moment with a faint smile. You have a connection with this forest, don't you? You should come see the logging site and meet everyone. Absolutely, Anya said eagerly. Did he know something about me, about my family, about my dreams? The guy was acting a little like he wanted to draw me into a cult. Yeah, we'll see about that, I said, shrugging. He also shrugged. I didn't take you for the indifferent type. Guess I was wrong, but you can't escape your destiny. He jumped suddenly and looked at the wooden tower and the bike I'd noticed earlier. Die Schwalbe is getting restless, he said. And, as Daniel pointed out, I should be on the logging site, setting up the protest. What is a Schwalbe? I asked, confused. He named his bike Swallow, Daniel explained. He loves it very much. Cornell grinned. Oh, I do. Nice meeting you, Maya. All I wanted to do was get out of there. The moment he disappeared, the buzzing came back. It wasn't as strong as before, but it was there. All I wanted to do was get out of there. Through the forest. We went on through the greenery. The buzzing in my ears slowly decreased. We made our way back. As we walked through town, Anya nudged me and pointed at a tall, broad-shouldered, freckled guy standing at the bus stop with a lost expression on his face. I remember his face from the pictures on social media. It was the friend who'd stood me up earlier. And I was still angry at him. Bartek? I snapped, irritated. You stood me up. Not cool. Maya, what are you doing here? He blurted with surprise when he saw me. I was sure you missed the bus. He started walking and talking. His accent was broad and East European. Flooded him with questions. Luckily, he loved talking about his home. so when I flooded him with questions, he kindly obliged. He talked about how the village had become a tourist destination, how the logging business moved to a nearby town, how the trains had stopped coming and the local station had turned into a hotel for wealthy foreign hunters. Dozens and dozens of bison statues scattered around the village watched us indifferently. We walked along the only street in the village. Nearing the center, if you could call it that, every house had a garden, and the air was dense with the fragrance of flowers. I took a deep breath. So, did you find anything linking me to that forest? I asked. Bartek shook his head. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Sorry. He was avoiding my eyes. A trickle of sweat ran down his temple. He was lying straight to my face. What the fuck, man? I threw my arms in the air. You wrote to me a few days ago that you had something. But you just clammed up. You know what? I think you should drop it. I stopped. That was the final straw. I turned to Bartok, grabbed his shirt, and pushed him hard against the fence. I'd always been strong, and anger made me even stronger. His feet lost contact with the ground. I heard Anya gasp. Happy to help, little sister. I screamed in his face. I traveled 300 miles in a fucking bus without fucking AC, I shouted. A few flecks of spit hitting his chin. I did it because you said you found something. My arms got tired and I dropped him. I politely asked again. So would you kindly tell me what you found? Bartek scrambled to his feet, pale and terrified. Well, he brushed his forehead with the back of his hand. I did ask. I serve with the old people here. I told him that my friend from the States was looking for her roots and wanted to know about the place her family came from. You know the drill. At first, people were very, receptive. I waited for the other shoe to drop, and then I mentioned your name. He shook his head. I urged him to continue. Bartek, no dramatic pauses, please. I urged him. The tension is killing me. One of the old men here told me to go to hell. The other spat on the ground, and his wife crossed herself. For a moment, he looked younger and smaller. Then my own grandmother told me to stop asking. She said something else as well. I tensed up. What? I asked. She told me to pray for you. Suddenly the sweet golden afternoon wasn't so sweet and golden anymore. I was furious. I felt anger boiling somewhere deep in my heart. How dare they? I didn't need their prayers. We walked in silence, but my mind was in overdrive. People didn't want to talk, and that could only mean one thing. I was on the right track. My pulse quickened, and I tensed up like a hound that smelled blood. I was on the right track. Needed to gather my thoughts. Long day, a lot had happened, and I was really tired. It was good to meet you in person, I said, but I need to be going. All this traveling and walking through the forest, it was exhausting. I smiled. Sure, where are you staying? Turned out we were going the same way. Of course. We went back to the B&B. Excuse me, damn. B&B was quaint. I left Anya and Bartek outside. They were lost in a conversation and didn't even notice that I was gone. When I got out of the shower, Anya was back, smiling and a little flustered. What a day, she smiled. So what do you think? I made a quick mental inventory of everything that had happened that day. The wolf cubs that were kidnapped and died in captivity, I sighed. And this story stayed with me, you know? She put a hand on my arm. Divided families, huh? It's okay, Maya. Something strange happened when I was visiting the old barrows, I said, and instantly regretted it. Never mind, I was probably just dehydrated. Yeah, that's probably it. But you looked weird. She laughed nervously. A lot of things today were weird if you think about it. I felt this strange energy in the place of power before we met Cornell. It still freaks me out. Cornell seemed cool enough, Anya answered. And he seemed to really understand what you were going through. Can't believe they're logging here. I shook my head. Isn't the forest on a UNESCO list or something? Yeah, I know. I want to check out this protest people were talking about. Maybe we could go there tomorrow? I don't feel like talking anymore. You know what? I'm seriously tired. Let's call it a day, shall we? Soon we were both in our beds, ready to sleep. I was tired, sure, but also excited. And excitement isn't the best for sleep. I lay there for a while, thinking about everything that had happened, and what might happen next. The wind from the open window lapped over my skin as I watched the silver rectangle painted on the wall by the moonlight. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the tangled branches, the stone Daniel asked me to throw, the leaves. I came here with one question, and now I had so many. Felt like I was getting close to my answers. Darwin. I felt that the answers I was looking for were within my reach. I should go and see the logging protest, find Cornell, and make him talk. After a long while, all these thoughts became blurry. They slowly started to turn into pictures, sounds, colors. I drifted off. Two black holes underneath a crooked tree stare into the night, quiet and vigilant. I feel the excitement rising deep within my stomach, then throughout my whole body. I am a razor-sharp knife. I am a sword. I'm a gun waiting to be fired. I'm asleep for now, but soon someone will use me, and I can't wait. I feel a pull, and I surrender to it. I am pointed toward a clearing. There are piles of fresh corpses of people who died too young, skinned and mutilated. Their loved ones stand around them, grieving, unable to do anything, waiting. And suddenly, they're just trees and tree trunks. There's a roar, and I realize it's mine. I will kill whoever hurts the trees. There's a stench in the air like meat rotting in acid, but somehow worse. I see the monstrous army. Their mandibles are whirling chainsaws. Their long metal arms are wrapped with black pipes that look like glistening intestines. Their smell is vile. They wait, unmoving. I try to breathe through my mouth as I run toward the machines. I hit and kick them blindly, screaming at the top of my lungs. And in my own screams, I hear strange whispers. They tell me to look at the sky. There, between the stars, two shapes circle each other. An old, sad wolf with gray hair and white weasel. They keep their eyes on one another as they continue their dance, suspicious, but not hostile. We need to fight the enemy. The awful, rotting stench. I know that much. But how can we do that when we don't trust each other? They stop. They look at me and the clearing. Come here and face me. Once again, I don't recognize the words, but I understand. They come down to me, and their voice is the voice of the Pushka. We've been calling you, and you finally came. I wake up. Chapter 2, Logging. Day after. The next morning was full of sunshine and birdsong. I could smell the heat of the afternoon building. Those long, honey-like hours in late June when the earth isn't tired of its own warmth yet. But it was crisp and pleasant now. I got up. I sat on my bed for a moment, letting my feet dangle from it. I felt angry. The weight of the previous day had coiled up somewhere in my chest, and it felt like a tiny merry-go-round, gaining speed. There was the dream. Then I remembered the dream, the clearing, the animals in the night sky, waiting for me. I took a shower, ate something without really paying attention, and went out. We were halfway through the forest when I realized we were walking toward the logging site. I was so focused on my anger and the turmoil in my head that I didn't really care about where I was going. When I snapped out of it, the sun was shining, the village was far behind me. I wasn't sure how I'd gotten there. Anya looked around. So what's the plan? We have to stop this logging. I looked around. On my right was the ancient forest. On my left was a freshly torn clearing. Ahead of me, ruining the view, were huge logging machines and a group of people arguing in their shadow. Perfect picture of a battlefield seconds before the first shots are fired. I'd never seen a harvester before, and I was shocked by the vile ugliness of the machine. There were 3 at the site. Their long metal arms were wrapped with black pipes that looked like glistening intestines or weird hanging sperm sacs, and they reeked. The stench was dark, rancid, and putrid. Yet none of the people there seemed to smell it. Not the reporters, not the police, not the loggers, nor the protesters. I couldn't understand. The clearing was full of that smell. Cornell was arguing with a woman with gray dreadlocks. The protesters were clearly conflicted. I had business to do there, so I went towards them. One of the police officers, young and nervous, said something I didn't fully understand. I tried to walk past him. He stepped in my way and slowly assessed me. "Oh," he said, "you're one of them," and then let us go. Then I noticed that someone used the commotion to sneak with us past the police. A girl with disheveled, bleached-out hair. "Don't worry," she patted the officer on the arm. It was an awful pickup line anyway. He recoiled. "You shouldn't touch me, ma'am." I rolled my eyes and wanted to say something, but I was interrupted. Pat! Cornell called her from the gathering. Could you come here? I need to show Olga the chart. She sighed, reaching to her backpack and taking out a tablet. And they're at it again, she muttered under her breath and winking at me. Coming. As I walked towards Cornell, I heard more and more of the argument. Olga, you can't, Cornell was saying. Pat stood next to him with a tablet. She looked a bit amused. Do not fucking tell me what I can and I can't do, Cornell. The woman with dreadlocks interrupted. I can, because they are destroying our mother. I can fight with all the means at my disposal, even if that means burning those harvesters to the ground. I noticed Daniel standing near her. He took a few steps back, went towards one of the harvesters, turned his back on us all, and pissed on the machine. Olga smirked. Aw, Daniel, you know how to bring the point home. He looked at her confused. Burn the harvesters? Cornell asked calmly. In this drought? Olga, are you out of your mind? You know what I mean. We fight them any way we can, because this is a fucking war, she spat. He sighed. Never seen real war and it shows. Nobody is shooting at us, and believe me, we want it to stay that way. We need a peaceful protest. I approached Cornell. Hi, we need to talk, I said, approaching Cornell. Hello, Maya. Could you wait? I'm right in the middle of something here. In the middle of something? It looked like I had to bring this something to an end. I looked at them both. Olga, with her fury and passion. Cornell, with his cool professional demeanor. And shared, without any reservations, what I felt about the situation. It's not a war. Not yet. My voice rang clear in the silence. Though it won't stop unless we make them. The argument attracted more and more people. Someone old shook their head and moved forward. They had deep wrinkles, a narrow mouth, and the unisex grace of a tired, heroin-preserved rock man. They had shoulder-length, disheveled hair, clean shave, and eyes highlighted with eyeliner. Bright blue nails, heavy army boots, red skirt, and tank top completed the look. And pins, lots of pins. All kinds of LGBTQA plus flags, anarchist and pacifist symbols, and I think some German band stripes. Olga, darling, you know I love you. Cornell really knows what he's doing. Please trust me on that one. I talked to Olga, but kept glancing at me, as if to check how I reacted. Fuck off, Kim. You didn't even trust me enough to come here on your own when I asked you to. Next to Olga, there stood a woman, and she was the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. She had perfect hourglass figure, long braids, and the most stunning cheekbones. Her eyes, slightly slanting, were a weird shade of blue, deep, almost purple. Kim, you want to teach me about violence? She looked him straight in the eye. About fighting oppression? Just because your boss went to one mission in Afghanistan? The Polish was peculiar, kind of mellow. Cornell winced. Lisa, leave Kim alone. He didn't know what to say. And it seemed that the whole discussion would be derailed. I let them solve it their way. Then Olga punched Cornell firmly in the face, turned around, and walked away. Total around, holding his jaw and wincing. Then he started to laugh softly. The conversation was over, at least for the time being. Cornell, together with his cronies, walked towards the reporters while Olga walked back to the group of people standing in the shadow of an old oak tree. I looked at the pushka. The clearing full of felled trees was like a gaping, bleeding wound in the chest of a friend. I came here to stop the logging. After seeing what I'd seen, my resolve only strengthened. Yes, just like Olga said. Anya nodded, excited. What they're doing is unforgivable, and we have to fight. One group, I looked at the other. Harvesters were dripping with black oil, and the forest stood tall, serene, and full of golden light. It looked like it could protect itself. And I looked at the felled trees, dead, limp, helpless. As we approached, Daniel pricked his ears. I could have sworn they moved. Hello, fellow humans, he grinned at us. I felt Olga's eyes on me. And who the fuck do you think you are? She demanded. She stood there with her arm wrapped around the waist of another woman. It was Lisa. She winked at me and mouthed, "It's okay." I couldn't care less about her opinion. I knew I was there. I'm someone who wants to burn those fuckers. I pointed at the lurking shapes of the harvesters. Lisa nudged her. See, honey, I told you. It's obvious. Olga rolled her eyes. I had more time to look at her now. She was wearing combat trousers, sandals, and there was a small silver double-bladed axe hanging on the string around her neck. The labrys, a lesbian feminist symbol. She wasn't hiding where she stood. Excuse me. I feel like there's something personal going on here, I said bluntly, but I don't even know you. Oh, Maya, but I know about you. She laughed bitterly. When the pushka is under attack, she reaches out and picks someone. This time, goddess knows why, she picked you to help her. She seemed to believe it. I looked at her, skeptical, but he seemed to believe it. The question is, she looked at me as she paused. Will you do it? Before I could answer, there was a commotion, a change of mood. Olga stiffened and looked over my head. Police were coming our way. Officers, Olga said, hissing the words through her teeth. Ma'am, said an officer whose round face was adorned by a mustache that looked like a shoe brush. Disperse. Disperse, repeated the officer. Or what? I stepped forward and looked them in the eyes. I could see their faces covered in sweat under their helmets. I could smell the stench of sweat from their bodies lingering in my nose and throat like a putrid, acidic mist. The cop reached for a megaphone. You are trespassing on private property and are a danger to public order. I could feel the adrenaline starting to surge in my veins. Suddenly everything was calm and clear, almost peaceful. I must have moved, but I didn't feel it. And there I was, right in front of the officer. I lifted my arms, pushed against his chest, hard, and all hell broke loose. The officer went down, and I started kicking fiercely to keep him there. I didn't know what came over me, but I fought like a beast. I took on 3 armored cops and I smashed them around like bowling pins. I kept enough of a cool head to notice more officers coming, and I retreated. I heard harsh, menacing voices. I heard screams. I heard people running toward one another. Police crashing into the protesters. Some of them fought back. Some turned and ran. Some sat down on the ground, only to be dragged away. Journalists came running, finally finding something worth moving their asses for. Some of the officers quickly stood in their way. There was a quick exchange of profanities, and the cameras were lowered. There would be no evidence of police brutality in the media, at least not today. Don't do anything rash, said Olga, dragging me away. You've done enough for today. I hope it was praise, not a rebuttal, but didn't dare to ask. When I was on the road to the village and nobody could see me, I stopped and screamed. A startled flock of birds took off from trees nearby and filled the air with feathers and movement. In the whole commotion, I lost Anya from my sight. I was alone. Hey, let me help you, the voice behind me said, and I jumped. The woman was looking at me with concern. What happened? Angry, I straightened up and said nothing, my throat still sore. We walked slowly toward the village. Okay. I learned that she was an independent German reporter who'd come here about a month ago. Her name was Erica. So why are you protesting the logging? She asked after a few minutes of small talk. I haven't been here for long, I answered, angrily. I've always learned that Poland is ruled by a right-wing party, total climate catastrophe denialists. I feel Polish and I all have a right to protest. I looked at her. Why are you asking? You know why they're cutting down the trees? She asked back. Because you do know that logging is done by a government company, the state forests. The fuckers, I growled. Politicians are tainted. I say we take off and nuke them from orbit. Shook my head. Pretty radical, she snorted with laughter. But that'd destroy the forest. It all started with spruce bark beetles. Erica looked in her notes and started explaining the whole situation. That year, the beetles' infestation was of catastrophic proportions, and the foresters decided that the only way to stop it and save the rest of the forest was to cut down as many infected trees as fast as possible. Is cutting down trees the only way to stop the infestation? I asked, confused. The foresters state that this is the only way, she said. Some biologists argue that they're cutting wrong trees and doing it too late to change anything. Maybe if they removed the dead trees, the infestation wouldn't spread. I tried to find a solution. They might do that, but dead trees are what make the forest unique. Erica smiled. There are 20 times more species living on a dead spruce tree than on any alive one. But is the logging legal? I wanted to know. Opinions differ. Such massive logging in a UNESCO listed area might be illegal, Erica answered. Couldn't they just leave the Pushka alone and let nature take its course? I asked. That's one of the options, Erica admitted. There's a drought. No one is sure if the forest would survive on its own. It's infuriating. Why couldn't she just answer my question? Whose side are you on anyway? I asked in a loud voice. I'm just doing my job, Erica shrugged. I described all aspects of the situation to you. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. I nodded. That was her job. My job was to do something about the situation. At least I was sure that they were cutting down the trees, and the Pushka needed my help. I didn't have to explain myself to you, I scoffed. I had my reasons to stand against the machines. I didn't even try to hide how angry I was. She looked skeptical. You're not the only one feeling helpless, she said. But anger makes you see things in black and white. And the truth is always more nuanced than that. No, I cut her off. I couldn't let her take away my anger. It was the only thing that kept me going. I wanted to say something, but my mind was such a mess I couldn't even find the right words. What's the matter? She asked. So fucking angry at what I saw. Took a deep breath, and I remembered what Ola had told me. And they said the forest needs my help. I shook my head. It's a lot to take in. There's that foul smell back there. She looked at me with a weird expression. What smell? She asked. All the things I told you, you asked about a smell. I'm trying to understand what's going on here. She looked at me with a strange expression on her face, as though she wanted to say something and then thought better of it. I thought she'd been hurt by my outburst. You'll learn in your own time if you stay here long enough, she said, clearly wanting to drop the subject. What do you mean? I asked, getting irritated. I just told you, you'll learn in time, or not at all, which would frankly be better. Anyways, gotta run. As I watched her leave, I thought that whatever connected me to the forest had surely manifested itself that day. I jumped right into the middle of a very tense situation, and at the very least, upset the status quo. I just hoped I hadn't made things worse. Anya came back soon after me. I lost sight of you, she said apologetically. Glad you made it back in one piece. So how was your day? Anya asked. I got a few bruises, said, and thought an expression was due. I fought the police. You did what? Why? Anya was shocked. You know how it is. Sometimes things just happen. I smiled unsurely. You know that the government supported the logging even when it was illegal? I shared my dismay. Anya just nodded solemnly. Yeah, I've read about it. Why didn't you tell me? Well, you have a lot going on, she shrugged. I shrugged. Just another day in this town. We sat for a while in silence. You know, there's more to see here than the town. Anya said from over her travel guide. All these other different villages. There's something interesting in every village. An open-air museum, some kind of folk university, the bison. Maybe you'd like to see something more than the logging? Frankly, sightseeing is not why I came here, I said. Right now, the most important thing we should care about is the logging. And how's the search for your roots going? I knew you couldn't stay silent for long. They say that when the forest is in need, it reaches out to people, I said. And for some reason, this time it reached out to me. Wow. Anya looked impressed. Honestly, I'm not sure what to think. If you need something, just let me know. I just sat there, looking through the window. The day had been full on, and I was exhausted. It's quiet now. Yet I know deep down inside that something isn't right. Walking through the forest to the logging site. It's getting dark. The light seeps away as though there are a million tiny punch holes in the sky through which it can escape. And there the darkness starts to pour in. It's thick, oily, snake-like. It wraps around my ankles, caresses my wrists, then takes my hand and leads me to the site. It's full of maimed bodies. They're all trees, fallen trees, still alive, still struggling for air. I can smell them. The stench is dark, rancid, putrid. They're monsters at the edge of the forest. They have long skeletal arms. They're wrapped in glistening black intestines. Each arm has a wide, gaping mandible full of whirring blades. They snap at me blindly. I feel rage pumping through me like a molten lava, bubbling from the ground, through my feet, up my legs, through my chest to my head. I suddenly explode. With a howl of joy and anticipation, I run toward the shapes and start to destroy. I bite off heads, I tear off arms. I am a force of nature, unstoppable. I gasped and bolted upright. I was alone. The sun was setting, and in the deep red light, the room looked like it was bathed in blood. My pillow was on the ground, gutted. The duvet was in shreds. The air was full of tiny feathers, dancing in the draft from the window. What the fuck is going on? This is getting good. Chapter 3. I couldn't get back to sleep. Since I'd arrived in this accursed village, things had been getting stranger and stranger with every passing hour. And I'd ripped a pillow in half in my sleep. Nothing about it was normal. I needed to talk it over with someone I trusted. Come here with Anya, and despite all the strange things I'd done, she'd still stuck with me. I messaged her, she messaged me back. I'm on a walk, come join me. The sun had just set, the moon wasn't up yet. I started walking. The forest loomed on the horizon. The activist camp was somewhere there. We met near the shop in the village. It was a characteristic enough point, and easy enough to get to from anywhere in town. What is it? Anya asked. She looked worried. I know it sounds crazy, but I think something strange is happening to me. It's driving me mad. There is something strange happening, she nodded. but I have no idea what it is. I know even less than you. She frowned. Maybe we should go to your new friends, the activists? She smiled a little. They're weird. They must know something. I come to you for advice and all you have to say is go to someone else? Thanks for nothing. She looked at me hurt. You know what? Yes. Go to someone else and leave me be, she said, turned her back on me and just left. Looking at her go, I realized that now I had only one option, the one she talked about. The camp had a different vibe than the logging site protest. There were more people here. I looked around, suddenly feeling very alone. The people in the camp seemed quite cheerful. I saw people at work. Some of them were filling big barrels with sand. Some were busy making what seemed to be posters. The rest were singing or cooking. Everyone was contributing in one way or another. I looked around. I definitely needed to talk to someone about what was going on, about what I felt. Olga spotted me right away. Well, hello again, she greeted me. I didn't expect to see you here so soon, actually. She gave me a long, hard look. I didn't expect to see you again at all. Made me even angrier. For a moment I wanted to bite her head off, bark some curse words at her. I took a long breath. It didn't help. To my surprise, she just started to laugh. Her face softened. What brings you here, kid? She asked after a beat. I'm angry, I said simply. I'm angry about what you told me, about my history, the forest and the logging, and I don't like being angry and not doing something about it. I like your attitude, she said. We need anger to do things that are hard. Always. It's the force that moves us forward and helps us survive. She broke off and bit her lip. What do you want to do about it? I want to do something, I said. Anything. I want to feel like I'm doing something that has a meaning. It will change what happens. I feel like I could smash those harvesters with a hammer. Do you have a hammer? If the force wanted something from me, I couldn't be just an observer anymore. She looked at me. Her eyes were a weird color, like deep dark honey and molasses. I might, but I need your support, because Cornell will always try to push his own agenda. They all wanted to do something that night, but after a whole day's discussion, they were still divided on what to do. 3 for one option, 3 for the other. I saw no reason to back up Cornell. I voted for direct action, and soon we were on our way to the logging site. We had some harvesters to deface. We were just a group of dark silhouettes running through the night. The moon was hidden behind the clouds. Of course, I would have preferred a clear sky for the visibility it offered, but it was good enough. Clouds parted for a moment, and I stepped into the moonlight. Suddenly, I felt unstoppable. We soon reached the logging site, and I knew we were there only because I voted for direct action. I made a difference. Olga stood in the middle of the clearing, looking at the harvesters. She had a backpack on her shoulder. When she moved, I heard a metallic clinger coming from inside it. Let's get going, she said. She looked different in the dark. She seemed more angular, broader. Yeah, let's smash something, I agreed. Olga reached into her backpack. She tossed something my way. It wasn't a hammer, but a can of spray paint. Red. I just grinned at her. I glanced over my shoulder and saw Cornell staring at me. This is a mistake. He shook his head and turned away. Cornell, we voted in favor of this plan, I challenged him. If you're not helping, at least don't bother. He stared at me, appalled. Don't listen to that angry voice in your head. It will just push you further and further. Olga noticed the tension between us. People know that I'm right, she said, looking Cornell straight in the eye. You should have noticed that the first time you came here. Your plan will destroy lives, he answered. Please, I said, we have work to do. Tension broke. Cornell shook his head and turned around. Be careful and quiet, said Lisa. She also looked different. There was camo face paint on her broad cheekbones. There were some guards nearby. I'll take care of them. And with that, she left. The harvesters just stood there. Now more than ever reminding me of some distorted decorations from a cheap horror movie. Black cables glistened in the moonlight, and their stench raised the hair on the back of my neck. I shook the can and let go of the first blotch of the paint. It landed on the side of the harvester. For a moment, I thought the machine shuddered, like I'd wounded it. A sudden wave of anger hit me. Kill it! I shook the feeling off. I started to spray every line of paint. Black in the moonlight. Felt like a blow. Like digging a knife into flesh. Like opening it up and letting it bleed. I liked it. I liked destroying the foul machine. Even if the destruction was only painting the glass that the driver couldn't see. But it wasn't enough. I picked up a stone, swung my arm, smashed the windshield. The sound of breaking glass pierced the night. Fuck! Olga cursed. Now we'll have to deal with the guards. Funny, I thought. She looked like she'd been expecting it. There's no reason to stop now. So I kept smashing the equipment. There was no reason to stop now. I just did what the force wanted from me. We stopped for just a moment to admire our work, and for that moment, everything was still and quiet. The air smelled of spray paint. The harvesters looked stupid and helpless. Broken glass shone in the moonlight. And the stillness was broken. Hey, what the fuck? Shit, murmured Olga. She didn't seem scared, though, just angry. The guards. Took a few fast breaths and cracked my knuckles. I was ready. The guards were coming. There were 5 of them between the trees. 5 men, of course, pointing their flashlights around chaotically, getting angrier with every second. I looked at them. I looked at the rest of my companions. And I rushed towards the guards. The clearing shattered like a broken window in sharp pieces. Its edges cut clean by the rays of a flashlight swirling in the darkness. One piece, a shout. Another, a silhouette leaping. A dodge, a grunt, a punch, a cry. Curses in 3 different languages. My mind was crystal clear as I jumped from one piece to another. The man I hit stumbled, more surprised than hurt. Then he lunged at me. Took a step back to gain momentum and hit him as hard as I could. I heard a crack when I hit his nose. And then there was a loud thud. Flashlight shone his way. I saw blood. Blood on his head. Blood on the stone next to his head. Blood on the ground. Dark and fresh. victory. I turned away from the man to look for another target. She killed him, one of the men shouted, the horror clear in his voice. Directed his flashlight at my face, blinded me. I moved toward him and grabbed the flashlight. The guy was strong, and we started to struggle. A second later, I noticed a huge silhouette behind him. It looked at me, and its eyes were glowing. Leave her alone, it growled, and I recognized the voice. It was Olga. She was bulging, muscles growing bigger, bones getting longer. She let out a joyous roar, grabbed the man and slashed him with her claws. I felt a surge of adrenaline. My nostrils flared. I heard myself growling. Something warm landed on my face. More blood. Howls, terrified screams. The man screamed again as another monster appeared in the circle of light. It howled and lunged at the first beast. I acted on instinct. I zeroed in on the man pointing the gun and launched myself at him. The monsters clawed at one another. Their jaws closed on each other's throat. Blood splattered, drenching me. Before I knew it, it was all over. I saw life leave the strange gray eyes. The surviving monster lifted its black and white muzzle. It reeked of death and its teeth were dripping blood and jumped at me. Gunshot tore through the night. The pain was unbearable. Nothing in my life had prepared me for this. Blinded by the blood in my eyes, a shudder and chest burning, I went berserk. I shouted, swung my arms blindly, and I cried. I howled. I stumbled. I fell. The forest caught my fall, with a bed of moss and twigs. I stopped thrashing, and a cold numbness engulfed me. No! I punched her, trying to get some feeling in my hands, gritted my teeth and tried to get up. I collapsed again. It felt so cold. Suddenly there was light. I looked up. The full moon. The moon was a goddess. She noticed me. Get up, she said. I get up. I feel good. I know that I shouldn't, but I don't remember why. I don't care. My muscles are sore and cramped, so I stretch like I've never stretched before. My arms are longer. My legs are stronger. My heart is pumping. I feel like I've spent my whole life packed into a box, and I've finally been set free. I take a breath. Feel my ribs and muscles move. The forest smells of blood and fear and excitement. I laugh happily. And others' laughter joins me. We laugh and we sing to the moon. My mind is clearer than it's ever been before. I see the world in sharp contrasts of black and white, movement and stillness. I smell prey. I hear language in the hooting of the owls, the whistling of the wind, and the snarling of wolves. I am one with the forest. Something touches my leg. There's a small, malformed creature sticking something sharp in the muscles of my thigh. The creature is no threat to me, but its presence is annoying. Its smell almost sends me reeling, and I don't like being pricked. I reach out lazily and rip its head off its shoulders. Blood blooms from its neck like a beautiful flower. I throw the head toward the moon. My ears prick, and I hear more creatures running blindly through the bushes. My leg no longer stings, and I feel better than ever before. I smell prey and I start hunting. They do not see me as I move silently through the undergrowth. Creatures are running away, their backs turned to me. A growl escapes between my teeth, and one of them turns away. It challenges me. I roar, and the creature falls down and curls into a ball. It smells of ammonia. Piercing light burns my eyes. I hear more creatures coming my way. They want to hurt me. I hide in the shadows, and they are too slow, too dumb, too clueless to notice me. I strike them down one by one. Some manage to defend themselves briefly. Most of them don't see me coming. The wind brings a new smell. The air tastes of fur and musk and blood. Shapes move along the trees. But they are no creatures. They are people like me. Suddenly I'm surrounded by them. I think I know them. They seemed familiar. It's like I met them in the past. They were hidden. They closed in on me. What do they want? I relax and wait for them, unflinching. They approach me and sniff the air. Their smells are overwhelmingly familiar. Once the people had sounds attached to them, but now I realize the sounds were not their true names. Run with us, they say. And we hunt together, and there's joy. There are no words to describe the thrill of being part of a pack and closing in on your prey and tearing it apart. And I get lost, chasing something, only because it's escaping. I am alone in the heart of the forest. I look up and see no moon, only clouds and tangled branches. Something changed, and I realized how tired I was. I stumbled. The night sky was full of stars. Confused, I opened my eyes. The forest around me was thick and dark. Tree trunks wrapped tightly in dark, loud ivy were covered in ripples of lichen where the vines hadn't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base were overrun with nettles. The fungi radiated with a ghoulish, sickly green. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms clung to the fallen trees. I took a deep breath and winced. There's a foul smell in the air. Suddenly, I realized it wasn't the forest that smelled so foul, it was me. I looked down and saw my hands covered in a dark substance. I was naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid was clinging to my skin. I could feel it on my face and my hair. Blood. I felt something waking in my chest. A long, guttural scream. I remember my dream and slowly lifted my eyes. I saw a mutilated body. Its severed head was right in front of me. The face was contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open, the tongue stuck out. It was obscene. I doubled over, retching. Oh God, I recognized that face. It was Cornell. His gray piercing eyes, now dull and dead. It was all my fault. No! I had a long, blood-curdling scream. The night swallowed it. The bushes rustled. And a moment later, I saw Olga. She came out from between the trees, wiping something red off her hands. She looked at me, the head at my face. She came closer and squatted beside me. "It's okay," she patted my shoulder. "You're a werewolf." I looked at her. I blinked. Holy shit. It's getting intense. I like it. I like it. Oh man. Just a moment to rehydrate, recaffeinate. Damn fine cup of coffee. Heart of the forest. The morning smelled of fir, earth, and the forest. Over the gentle snoring that filled the warm space under the low-hanging branches of an old spruce tree, I heard a squirrel. I was hungry. Stepping over the sleeping forms, I made my way outside. Alone, hiding in the tall grass, I sniffed around. The sky was bright, and the forest around me was dark, and full of interesting smells. High in the trees, birds yelled about status, sex, and violence. I was in danger. The thought was abrupt and unwanted, but like a siren. Something had happened last night. I pressed myself to the ground and pricked my ears. They wouldn't find me unprepared. A creature stirred in the bushes nearby. A tall, dark silhouette. A strangely familiar smell. I jumped from the grass, aiming straight for its throat. It saw me coming and with lightning reflexes swatted my nose. It hurt. Suddenly, a feeling like a cramp or a spasm surged through me and everything changed. My body started resetting itself to the familiar shape and it hurt. Bones broke and fused together again. Muscles and sinews moved under my skin. I cried and thrashed. Then, panting and sweating, I was Hamid again. I hit the ground with my bare ass. Colors exploded. The morning breeze suddenly became cold, and I shivered. Confused, I looked at the person approaching me. "Get dressed." Olga threw me a bundle of clothes. "And stay human. They won't survive the change. Not until Lisa deems that you're worthy to learn the right, at least." We looked at each other. "As for what you saw yesterday," she added quietly, "it had to be done." I snatched the bundle and started pulling the clothes on. Sturdy but comfortable boots, cargo pants, green hoodie. They fit perfectly. I thought about the previous night when I was raging through the forest, about how differently I experienced the world through the wolf senses, about the discomfort and confusion of changing shapes. There was no denying it. I was no longer human. "Don't come any closer," I barked. "You have some serious explaining to do." That's why we've all come here today. We just stood there for a moment, tense and silent. I was wondering how one usually learned they were a werewolf. Doesn't make any sense, suddenly struck me. How come nobody knows werewolves exist? We protect the veil, was the answer. It's easy to convince humans that supernatural doesn't exist. They already want to believe that, and the delirium helps. You mean delirium as in the medical condition? I asked, remembering something that I'd read about acute confusional states. You'll have to ask Pat for that. The gist of it is that humans are incapable of remembering that they saw Krenos. She laughed. They panic, turn away, and instantly forget. Every time. Then I realized something important. At some point, the rest of the party had awoken and joined us. The clearing was full of wolves. Wolves were closing in on me. I saw an opening to escape. If I did, I could figure this all out on my own. The headless body was heavy. They said that, as my first kill, it was my burden. It was my duty to take it to the barrows. I got my shit together, lifted the corpse, and threw it over my shoulder. We are Garou, and when we rage, people die. Olga stood by my side. He had it coming. She accompanied me, carrying the severed head in a bag. Others stayed behind, covering the tracks. I didn't want to talk, or to think for that matter. Not about the person I was carrying, or rather trying to carry. It was just a thing. I needed to transport it from point A to point B. That was it. Kept dragging the body, getting more tired and more sweaty with every step. Suddenly, I understood. It was as if I wanted to scream, but with my whole body. I knew how to do it instinctively, like a newborn who knows how to cry. I was scared, but I couldn't stop it from happening. If I got just a little stronger, I'd easily handle the body. I was Glabba, the near-human form. The pain was stronger than I ever imagined. I felt muscles spasm as they rearranged themselves. My jaw cracked, my mouth filled with blood. I clenched my fist and claws drove into my palms. I screamed. I rose, panting and sweating. I was more than human. I was glabro, wolfish, strong, scary. The change hurt more than I expected. The world shifted, not much, but enough. I felt my teeth get sharper and muscles stronger. I picked up the body. It was a lot lighter. We went on, but we weren't alone. I realized there were two shapes in the bushes on either side of the road. One bigger and dark gray, the other small and white. Ah, my companion sighed. I see you've noticed our patrons. Sorry, what now? Patrons? I asked. Yes, the spirits who help us fight our war. The two animals stopped in front of me in the middle of the path. We came here to teach the cub, said the wolf. She smelled of ash and tears. I couldn't believe what I saw. It made no sense. I felt as if my brain were short-circuiting, trying to interpret signals not meant for human senses. My eyes told me there was a wolf staring at me. And when I looked at it, I felt ash on my tongue. I heard a mourning howl so deep it reverberated in my bones, and I smelled fire. When it talked, it was like the rustling of leaves formed words in my mind. But hallucinations or not, they just wouldn't leave me alone. The weasel circled me. Before I knew it, I could feel small claws on my leg, then on my back, then on my arm. It smelled of musk and electricity. Then it bit my ear. Do they always do that? I asked, ignoring the spirit. Speak to me when I'm biting you. The weasel's electronic voice echoed in my head. Enough, the wolf growled. Or at least that was what my brain decided to hear. In the beginning, there was Gaia, also known as Mother Earth. She gave birth to a mighty breed of warriors, the weasel began. It sounded electronical, like a teenager reading a Wikipedia page over a voice chat. They were called Garou. It's werewolves and werewolfish. Their sole purpose was to protect Gaia. They failed, wailed the wolf. Why did they fail? I looked to the weasel for advice. When time began, Gaia released 3 primal portions upon the earth. The weaver, the wild, and the worm, the weasel continued. The wild was the untamed force of life and creation. The cold, ruthless weaver gave structure to the world, and the worm destroyed what needed to be destroyed, creating balance. So, were werewolves creatures of the wild, I asked? An untamed force of life? They were Gaia's children, the wolf snarled, born to herd and contain humans. I can see that something went wrong. I smiled wryly. The weaver grew too ambitious and trapped the worm within its lifeless web. The weasel answered. Confined and denied, the worm went slowly insane. Now, Gaia is dying, choked by the weaver, and eaten alive by the worm, wailed the wolf. And the wild is not the one you should fight, she snarled. You were born to protect it. And I turned and led the way. The barrows looked just as I remembered them, but somehow calmer, warm and welcoming. Olga kneeled near one of the mounds, put her hand on it, and whispered a few words. I saw the ground open slowly, like a mouth in the earth. I sighed. Let's do this. We took the severed head and the body I'd wrapped up in sheets and put them in the hole. They closed slowly, and I could swear I heard the trees nearby sigh in anticipation. The wolf howled. I could feel the hair on my hands rise. Welcome to your new life. The talking white weasel grinned. We have something else to show you. You're a cub, so you have special privileges, said the weasel. Pushka will grant you a vision. You must see to understand, said the wolf. Think carefully before you choose what to see. It was hard to find the place of power. although I knew where it was. I felt the Pushka playing with me, twisting paths, blocking my way with bushes and dead trees, and then suddenly opening a new path that was straight and full of sunshine. I decided to make my own way. Since the change, I'd become acutely aware of how my body worked, and I remembered what humans were good at: running. Stubborn, relentless, long-distance running. Not as fast as a deer, not as nimble as a wolf, but steady and without rest. So I ran. And then I was there. There it was, the place of power, stones in a circle, old apple trees, a buzzing in the air. I opened my mind. There's a swirl. It starts deep within me and then it expands. Everything is in motion and there is no center anymore. There is a forest where wolves hunt, some of them alive, some long dead. There's a mother wolf, her howl like a keen. She keens after me when I fall. She mourns my blood that spills on the ground. Yet another of her cubs lost. In balance with this life, this death, it whispers to me. Little trees grow from where my eyes had been. A snail lives in my open mouth. Life goes on. Squirrels hide their acorns between my ribs. Seasons pass. The acorns grow and turn into oak trees. Years go by. And then there is no more me. No more forest. There is only us. But they stand there with their machines. And we have to fight for survival. Again and again. And the rage explodes like white phosphorus. The forest wakes up. Powerful bodies surge through the trees toward a village. The rage burns like white, scorching heat. Humans try to escape. They scream and beg for mercy. They try to protect themselves. But they are helpless, weaponless. The Guru rise up, their talons red with blood, and their eyes glazed with fury. The world burns, and the keening of the wolf turns into a howl of joy. The ash-gray wolf stands in front of me. Do you understand what you have to do? She asks. I understand, I said. I am a champion of the forest, and humans are the enemy. The wolf grinned at me. It's what the Pushka wants. She looked me in the eyes. No compromise. Be my teeth. Be my claws. Be my rage. Kill them all. Save the forest. I looked at her, and perhaps, for the first time, I saw her for who she was. Her pelt was marred with fire. Her eyes were smoking embers. Ash was falling from her heaving flanks. She looked old, ancient, seething with anger. She was the very idea of mourning made flesh, driven by a feeling of loss so profound that it burned everything in its wake. But there was more than that. She was also the spirit of the forest, the Pushka herself, wounded, hurt, violated, mourning all her children that humans had killed. At least, that was what I thought when I looked at her. The wolf mother looked back at me, and something in her eyes made me realize that she was trying to tell me what the Pushka wanted from me. Join me, she pleaded. Only you can understand me. Only you. I went to her, and she accepted me. And I finally understood who I was. Paths before us merged, and only one remained. The wind smelled of ash and tears. Fuck. This shit's fucking wow. Oh man, I'm liking that. I said I was what, 60 something percent done? Oh, hang on. 67%. Excuse me. So, I still got another session out of it, I'm sure. Holy crap, I really like that. That's some good writing. Man. Makes me want to just play some more fucking Werewolf. It's a fantastic game. It really is. I'm talking specifically about the tabletop RPG right now. But, like, everything related to it so far that I've even touched, I've just fallen in love with. Fuck. It's awesome. It really is. And I still got 2 more this kind of game. Well, 1 more visual novel, and I think the other one is more just like a text-based adventure. But we'll find out when we get to it. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going through them because this is just fantastic. I love it. I seriously do. Fuck. Alright, so I am gonna handle some things and then get ready for bed. So until next time, folks, check out my buddy Anuki22, fellow streamer, good friend. He does a lot of retro gaming stuff, and then Friday night, Saturday mornings, we generally try to play MechWarrior together. Actually, rumor has it, in the near future, next week or 2 probably, we may, no promises, but may have a new addition to our lance, as it were. We'll see what Junior can do, huh? So, all right, folks. Yeah, if you enjoyed this as much as I do, like, follow, subscribe, all that good shit. There's more to come. In fact, I'm actually really enjoying just like this whole visual novel thing. I might try and find some more to do because it's cool. And I know I got some like puzzle games. We do that. The Mist series, and then The Room, I think it's called, 1 through 4. I have. Or you can find some other stuff too. I'm sure there's more like these actual visual novel type things. Has to be. Actually, yeah. If I wasn't being such a damn stoner, I'd remember that I have a couple of them for Vampire. I think those are visual novels as well. Okay, folks, enough of my babbling. I have shit to do. Till next time, happy gaming.